ready?
Ladies and
Are
gentlemen,
you ready?
broadcasting live
Way to go, baby!
from Dallas, Texas.
No puppies. I need a dog to make a play.
Presented by Knockout Sports Bar.
It's time for football.
It's Paco's Locker Room Talk.
What a day, what a day, what a day.
What a day, what a day, what a day. Appreciate you guys watching today. Anthony Montoya here, a.k.a. Paco, along with my guest, Ed Too Tall Jones, former Dallas Cowboy, 15 years in the NFL. How many years in pro boxing, Ed?
1 year.
1 year in pro boxing. And we enjoyed it, too. I'd like to welcome you, Ed. Appreciate you coming out and being my guest. I really do, Ed.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. We're not even going to mention anything about the current situation, Ed. We're gonna go back to the good old days, back when you guys were winning Super Bowls and always contenders. You know, back then I think they based y'all's salary on what, playoff money? Also, did they always throw that in when they were trying to sign you guys?
A lot of guys had incentives. Had incentives in that contract. If you made the playoffs, if you won, if you were able to win a playoff game, you got X amount of money. But and we had some guys who it was just strictly salary. So.
Oh, okay. Now, Ed, let's go back to, before kind of jumping ahead of ourselves. Let's go back to high school. I believe you were born and raised in Tennessee. Is that correct?
Jackson, Tennessee. Yes.
Jackson, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And in high school, is that where you had your growth spurt, or you've always been this tall, 6'9"? I mean,
my growth spurt started in junior high school.
Okay.
And but I didn't stop growing until my second year with the Dallas Cowboys. When Dallas drafted me, I was 6'7".
Wow.
And after my second year in the league, I was 6'9".
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And weighing what in high school, and then
high school, I was very thin, which didn't matter because we didn't have a football team.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't play high school football. I played basketball, baseball, ran track, and boxed in the Golden Gloves.
Oh, really?
So, we didn't have a team. We were a little small school out in the country, and we couldn't afford the insurance for football. So I never got to experience that in high school.
Wow. So boxing was your sport before it was even football?
Yes, but my first sport was baseball.
Okay.
And I often tell a story about a lady who we lost recently. She was 104 years old.
Oh, wow.
She was an educator there at my junior high school, and all of my friends and I wanted to compete with other communities in baseball, but we didn't have no way of getting around. So she sold her vehicle and bought a station wagon so that she could drive us to and from other communities to compete. And that's when myself, along with some of the other student athletes there, got interested in sports. Otherwise, growing up in a city that in the whole state, we didn't have no professional teams. Wow. So we didn't have professional idols to look up to.
Right.
So I remember often times when my dad would say, hey, if you make good grades, I'll take you and your buddies to St. Louis to see the St. Louis Cardinals play baseball, or I'll take you to Atlanta to see the Atlanta Braves, because he could drive there.
Right.
And boy, did we hit those books just to get the opportunity to go see those professionals play baseball.
Wow. And was your dad as tall as you? Or
No. If you saw my dad, you wouldn't believe it. My dad was only 5'8".
Wow.
My mom was 5'5", my dad was 5'8", but the gene was there on both sides because I was told that if you have anyone on either side 6'2", you could be 7 feet tall, whatever. So my mother had a brother 6'7", and my dad had a brother 6'6". So the gene was there.
Wow. Okay, and so you're in high school, you're playing baseball and everything, and how do you end up at Tennessee State, the college?
Okay, I was All-American in both basketball and baseball. Drafted, not at the time, baseball didn't have a draft. They would invite you to camp. Cincinnati Reds invited me to camp out of high school. And I sat down.
Position?
I played first base.
Okay.
And I could play every position in the outfield because I had good speed and had a rifle arm. In fact, they wanted to make me out of a pitcher, but I couldn't throw strikes. But anyway, I talked to my mom about it, and she said no because she was determined that every one of her siblings was going to college. Now, I often remember that's when they came out with that fastback Mustang that I was just in love with. And I said, but Mom, I'd be able to afford my own Mustang. She said, son, if you do the right thing and go to school, not only will you be able to afford one for yourself, but anybody you want. So anyway, so that was over.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was going to Arizona State because I had scholarship offers at just about every school in the country. And Arizona State had a powerhouse in baseball and a decent basketball program. That's where I always admired Reggie Jackson. That's where he went to school. And my senior year, I lost my father. I lost my father my senior year, and my brother-in-law, who married my oldest sister, became my mentor.
Okay.
And he said, you need to go to Tennessee State, which is only an hour and a half drive from Jackson, Tennessee, where I was born, where you can check on your mom. Because my mom didn't even know how to drive. You know, she did everything with my dad.
Okay.
So I'm going, I'm a country boy. Okay, I'm going to Tennessee State.
Right.
He said, no, by the way, you a football player. I said, football? I don't know anything about football. He said, well, that's what your brother and I are going to teach you before you go there. So he drive me up to Tennessee State, who didn't even try and recruit me, didn't think they had a chance, and walked into the basketball coach's office and said, this is Ed Jones. He said, I recognize him. He said, Ed's interested in going to Tennessee State to play both basketball and football.
Right.
So the basketball coach paged the football coach, John Merritt. Said, John Merritt, come down here and come down here quick. So John Merritt walked in with a cigar, recognized me, and the basketball coach said, Ed's interested in going to Tennessee State.
Is that your
to play,
mom? Was that your mom? Or your sister?
That's president of Tennessee State.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Ed's interested in playing basketball and football. John Merritt almost swallowed his cigar. I said, give him anything he wants. So anyway, that's how I ended up at Tennessee State.
So Ed, you are honestly going to sit here and tell me that when you went to Tennessee State, the only football, I guess I'm assuming the only football you knew was like tackle a man with the ball. You didn't play any organized sport in football.
Again, I had good speed. And for a big guy, I went to play tight end. That's what I was going to try to play tight end.
Okay.
So first day of practice, I walk into the equipment room, and the equipment manager gave me the longest pair of pants they had, which hit me above my knees. Now, if you know anything about football, you know they're supposed to hit you below your knees.
Right.
So he took a look and said, you know what? Wear these today, stay out of contact drills, we have your pair made. So I walk on the field, and one of my teammates looked at me and did a double take and said, you know you're too tall for football. And that's how I got the nickname, Too
Really?
Tall. Everybody absolutely loved it. But
Oh, wow.
I worked very hard, and for some reason, my first year, we had a lot of defensive linemen get hurt. So the coach said, we want you to go down and work with the defensive linemen until we get some of them off the injury list.
Right.
Well, when I went down and worked out with the defensive linemen, the defensive line coach, Coach Gilliam, who's very good, wouldn't let me go back. The offense. So he wouldn't let me go back. So now I'm saying to myself, what am I doing here?
Right.
You know, because I really thought that I had good hands and all that. I'd make a good tight end. But anyway, I played behind a gentleman named Joe Turkey Jones, who played for the Cleveland Browns. Went on and had a nice long career at the Cleveland Browns, and learned a lot from just watching him. And he got hurt, and I had to play before I was ready. And, you know, made honorable mention All-American.
Wow.
Which was a big thing back then. And I said, oh, my gosh, maybe I have a career here.
Yeah.
But I went back to the basketball court that year, and I played basketball at Tennessee State for 2 years, won a Division II championship. Wow. And so after my second year, I was really enjoying football. And I said, maybe if I give up basketball, I could make the All-American team my junior year.
Right.
And I said, I got my championship in basketball. Why not? So I gave it up. And I made every All-American team in the country my junior year.
Wow. I guarantee you nobody knows all this, Ed. That's the most I've ever heard you talk, Ed. And I've known you since, God, the 80s. And that's the most I've ever heard you talk, man.
You didn't ask the right question.
Okay. All right. All right. Wow. So while you're there playing football, did you have any other players on the team that also went on to the NFL? Or was it just you and the guy in front of you, John Turkey?
Well, at that time, Tennessee State was one of the top Division II teams in the country. Tennessee State, Grambling, Southern University, Florida A&M, and had several pros. Claude Humphrey,
yes.
Big kid. But anyway, we had seven of those guys with Jim Marsalis. They'd come back and work out with us during their off season.
Wow.
And but again, you know, being my height, the big concern with the coaching staff was preventing guys from getting to my knees.
Yes.
And because at the time, in the pros, average player played 4 years mainly because of knee injuries and that crackback block, which I don't think should have ever been allowed. And I remember one day my defensive line coach called me over after I made All-American and said, Ed, he said, now, you know, if you're lucky enough to survive the rest of your college career, if you were to go into the pros, you'd be one of the tallest in the history of the game. I said, I didn't know that. He said, and you know, the average player is 4 years because of knee injuries. He said, in order for you to survive, get through college, and have any chance in the pros, you will have to be the best conditioned athlete on the field.
Right.
So not only did I do Tennessee State's rigorous program, I went and worked out with the Tennessee State Tiger Bells track team, which a lot of those women went on to win gold medals in the Olympics.
Wow.
So I just made a promise to myself that I will always be the best conditioned athlete on the field as long as I had that uniform on. And I'm happy to say that I never missed a game in college and went on to join the Dallas Cowboys, and 15 years never missed a game. And I know it had a lot to do with my conditioning because I found that most injuries occur in the fourth quarter when fatigue set in.
Yeah.
And you're rolling dice when you're out there if you're not giving 110%. So I always promised myself that every time that ball was snapped, if you got me, it would be with me giving 110%.
Right.
And I try and tell the players today the same thing. And with all the rule changes, they can't practice as much as they practiced when I played. I tell them, you know, you should hire someone away from the facility to whip you into shape.
Right.
Because it's worth it. You can afford it, and I think it would extend your career. And longevity is everything for an athlete.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think there are a lot of athletes that once the offseason comes around, I think now you're starting to see more athletes going and joining a boxing gym or getting involved with some type of track activity.
That's good.
And like you said, it's good. I mean, you know, it helps with longevity and as far as their career goes. So you get drafted by the Cowboys. You get drafted by the Cowboys, and I believe your number one pick. And what you come here, your signing bonus, I guess, was so small it's not even worth mentioning.
I was okay. I was, it
It was the most money you'd ever seen, then, I guess.
well, of course, it's most. I had my own little business in college. I was a singer, and I promoted concerts,
Okay.
and so I made money. But yes, that was the most, the biggest lump sum that I'd ever seen at
one time.
one time. Yes,
Okay. Well,
but it wasn't about the money with me. I just wanted to be successful because I knew even if I hadn't played football, I would be okay. But I loved the game, and I wanted to play the game as long as I possibly could. And by Dallas drafted me number 1 overall, which was the first time in the history that a lineman had been drafted number 1 overall, and a Division II player had been drafted number 1 overall.
Right.
That put a lot of pressure on me. I knew I had to perform at a high level to represent Division II schools. Otherwise, next guy up, teams wouldn't perhaps look at him the same as they looked at me if I didn't perform well.
Right.
So I was looking out for that guy behind me.
Yeah, everything was kind of on your shoulders.
Yes.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, Ed. Quick break to talk about one of our sponsors, and then we'll come back and finish up on that. So let's take a quick break and go to commercial. Ed, I don't know if you've been out to, maybe you heard about Knockout Sports Bar. They've got locations all over Dallas. Have you seen the one in Addison? No, they've got one out in Addison.
Who's behind that?
A guy by the name of Angelo that owns it. It's an Asian guy, and they own 5. They've got 5 locations, and they're the ones that we're doing the boxing with now. See, that was the last fight we did over at Mesquite Rodeo. Mm-hmm. They are building.
Like, where are they located in Addison?
Right off of, where Randy's used to be, or Primetime 21? Right in that parking lot.
You talking about Dion's place?
Yeah.
Right on Arapahoe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're right in that parking
In
lot.
that strip center?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's right in there. And they are building a $7 million venue 4 blocks from Cowboy Stadium, and it's going to have a boxing ring in there at all times. So we got to put on a fight every month.
This is Cowboy Stadium in Arlington or
In Arlington.
Or Frisco? Okay.
In Arlington. Yeah, in Arlington. So these guys are really, they're going to be the only restaurant in America with a boxing ring in it at all times. It only holds about probably 1,500, people in there. But
nice size, intimate size.
yeah.
Setting, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But it'll be a nice setup. Maybe one day you come by and check out one of the fights there.
Love to.
Yeah. But, okay, so let's get back to you get drafted by the Cowboys. You come here. Coach Landry's the only coach you ever had while you were here. Is that correct?
No, I played with under Coach Landry 14 years, Jimmy Johnson 1 year.
Okay. Played under Jimmy 1 year. Mm-hmm. Okay. Obviously, the practice was a lot different when Jimmy came along.
Well, actually now, one of the good things for me and a lot of other my teammates, I think, is because a lot of my teammates had long careers,
right,
over 10 years. And I think it's because Coach Landry wanted the best conditioned team in the league.
Yeah.
We worked very hard, which I feel was a good thing. And not only did we work hard in conditioning and training off the field, but in practice as well. And you take, for example, even when we first started out in preseason, we played.
Right.
When I first joined the team, we had 6 preseason games. It's a lot of games.
Yeah.
Well, the first preseason game, we played a half, the starters. We played a half. That's unheard of.
Right.
So the first 2 games, we played a half. The next 2 games, we played 3 quarters.
Wow.
And then the last 2 games, we played a half. And we're ready to play. I don't to this day, I don't see how guys are able to survive those first 4 games because of the lack of play in training camp.
They're just sitting on the sidelines, yeah.
I don't see how they can do it. My hat's off to them. I wouldn't have been able to do it because even as hard as we worked and as much as we played, during preseason, I was still winded.
Right.
I mean, I was sucking air out there. And
Wow. And the two strength coaches you I guess you had 14 years with Bob Ward and one with Mike Warsick.
I started out with Avon Roy.
Oh,
Avon
really?
Roy out of Louisiana, who worked with a lot of bodybuilders. He also worked with the Olympic teams. And I'll never forget.
He's with the Cowboys?
Yes, he's with the Cowboys when I
Really?
first started in '74. In fact, Tennessee State didn't allow any scouts to time us in the 40 or weigh us. And Dallas believed in knowing everything about you, but Tennessee State didn't allow it.
Right.
They listed me in the program. The height was correct, 6'7", but they listed me as 275.
Right.
When I got to Dallas and I had to run the 40, and they weighed me, I weighed 235.
Oh, wow.
So Coach Landry called me in. No. Tex Schramm called me in. He was the general manager at the time. He said, Ed, 235, what happened? Have you been sick? I said, no. He said, well, the program listed you as 275. I said, that's just one of the things that Tennessee State would do to try and intimidate their opponents. And Tex Schramm hit the floor laughing. And he said, have you told Tom Landry? I said, no. So anyway, the Cowboys sent me to, this during the offseason, sent me to Baton Rouge, Louisiana to live with Avon Roy for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I tell people all the time, people talk about how difficult it is to cut back eating to lose weight.
Right.
Well, how about if you wake up in the morning, you smell food that's in front of you, and you have someone standing over saying, eat this. Then you go to the gym, you're working out with these bodybuilders, you never lifted weights in your life, you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Then you have this big lunch. Then you're in the weight room again. Then you have this big dinner, and you think you're finally done with it. Mm-hmm. And when you're about ready to go to sleep, here's this late night snack. It was like torture when you have to eat in order to put on weight
Right.
for your livelihood.
Wow.
So it was just 6 weeks of hell. And so I went from 235 to 250, a solid 250. And the Cowboys wanted me to weigh 290. Landry didn't have no 300-pound players, not even offensive linemen.
Yeah.
I never got there.
Wow.
I never got there. So I played between 265 and 272
Wow.
my whole career.
Yeah, because I was looking at it, and it had you listed at 271, so it was pretty close to it. Yeah. And so you're there, and then you had Bob Ward.
Very good. Great. Bob Lilly told me my rookie year, I got to play with Bob Lilly. First thing he said was, now, don't lift any weights without supervision. I looked at him and I wanted to ask why, but I assumed it's because, you could hurt yourself.
Right.
And because I knew he had some injuries. I didn't know it was from lifting weights the wrong way or what it was, but I listened to him.
Right.
And I went to, just like I went to Avon Roy and told him, hey, we didn't have a good weight program at Tennessee State.
Right.
And he really worked with me. And then I told the same thing to Bob Ward. I told him. And Bob Ward, even during the off season or wherever he saw me, he would wander over there and watch. Made sure I was doing it the proper way, because it is so easy to hurt your back if you're not lifting weights the proper way.
Right.
So thanks to Bob Lilly telling me, I never had an injury from doing the wrong thing, lifting weights.
How many years did you play with Bob Lilly?
I played with Bob Lilly, I believe 2 years.
Wow.
Bob had some injuries. He was still one of the quickest linemen in the league, but he just couldn't overcome those injuries.
Wow.
And I often tell a story about Bob Lilly and Jethro Pugh, Larry Cole, Doomsday One.
Right.
How they took Randy White, Harvey Martin, myself, Bill Gregory, under their wings, and just we'd have to watch film with them, teaching us how to find your opponent's strengths and weaknesses, and just all these little secrets that's just so good. That's the best knowledge a young player could have.
Yeah.
Knowing we were there to take their jobs.
Wow.
Now that's the kind of class those guys were.
Yeah.
Knowing we were there to take their job, yet they wanted to teach us everything they knew. And I never forgot that. And that's why when Jeff Coat came behind me, I tried to do the same thing, and Tony Tolbert.
Yes.
I tried to do the same thing for them.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and Jeff Coat's coaching now. You know that.
Yes.
Yeah. Him and
Yes. I knew Jeff Coat would coach one day. Jeff Coat was a student of the game. He loved football, loved teaching, and I knew he would coach one day and be a good one.
yeah, he was on the show a while back.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we might try and hit him up. A lot of the guys are saying, "Hey, get with him, see if maybe we can get some tickets for the fellas. We go watch his first game. They're going to be playing at Arlington State, Globe Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where they're going to be having.
I look forward to going out.
Yeah,
Watching myself.
in February is when they start up. But so you're here at the Cowboys and defensive end, and you never been to a big city, right? Always.
Yes, I've been to big cities. Yes, I grew up on a farm, but thanks to my dad and other friends' parents, they would take us somewhere as long as we stayed out of trouble.
Right.
And made good grades. So I'd been to some big. In fact, I'd been to Dallas before. I'd been to Dallas. I'd been to Houston, L.A. I'd been to big cities.
So
and also, just playing at Tennessee State.
Right.
Yeah, we played all over. Yeah, teams.
Did y'all?
And basketball. I mean, we played in holiday tournaments in Erie, Pennsylvania. And
Right.
All these different places.
So y'all flew. It wasn't the first time you've been on a plane when you joined the Cowboys.
No,
Okay.
no, it wasn't. No.
Okay. So were you ready for Dallas when you moved here?
I was excited.
What I mean by Dallas, the city. I'm talking about everything that comes with it. I mean, Ed, you're 6'7", 6'9". Everybody, Dallas never had anybody that big. I mean, even if they didn't know what you did, we didn't have people. The Mavericks, the Chaparrals. I mean, I don't even know if they existed back then.
I didn't look at it like that. Like I said, we didn't have any professional teams in Tennessee at the time, but if you watch football, we only got to see Dallas and St. Louis,
Okay.
which is now Arizona.
Right.
Those were the only team we got to see, and it was Dallas the majority of the time because they were winning.
Yeah.
So even though I didn't know anything about football when I was growing up, I was still a Cowboy fan
Right.
because I was something about that star.
Yeah.
I loved that looking at that star and Landry with those hats.
Yeah. The fedora.
I thought that was the coolest thing. And my friends love watching football.
Yeah.
So because they love watching football, I watched it and knew every player on the team. Now, so which means when I got to Dallas, I knew that they had a lot of fans that loved them.
Right.
Because everybody love a winner.
Right. Right.
And also some of the leaders on the team, like Leroy Jordan and Kevin Hill and Bob Hayes, those guys set me down and told me. And I remember one of the first things they told me was, they said, and I still follow that today. And I tell a lot of the young guys the same thing. And some of those veterans set me down out in training camp and said, Ed, now, we win around here. He said, people love us here.
Yeah.
And he said, now, we want everybody to conduct themselves in a professional way off the field.
Right.
We also want you to be a community guy, give back. And said, one of the things they told me, said, if you want to go to dinner with your girlfriend or your wife and you don't want to be bothered, ask me. I know where to tell you to go.
Right.
And said, if you're not in the mood to sign autograph, take pictures, if you can't be nice, stay at home.
Wow.
I never forgot that.
Wow.
So I heard that from day one.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Look at that. How old were you there, Ed? About 29? No,
No, I was 21.
21.
That was my rookie year.
Wow.
That was at the draft.
Oh, was it really?
That's talking to the press right after Dallas made me the #1 overall pick.
Wow. And I guess you remember, you got some memories of the Playboy Club? Oh, it was right next to the Cowboy office.
Yes, but it was, and believe it or not, one of my best friends was one of the first Playboy bunnies that they hired.
Really?
And I introduced her to one of my teammates, who's like a brother, Hollywood Henderson. They got married.
Oh, really?
But I couldn't go there much because I never went out after Thursday night.
Okay.
And the Playboy Club at that time was hot on weekends.
Okay.
So I never really got to experience it much. And also, I've never been fond of crowds.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in everybody's way, so I try and shy away from crowds. I love little small, intimate settings.
Like, okay. Yeah. And for a lot of people that don't know, the Playboy Club was located on Central Expressway, in the same building as the Dallas Cowboy offices. Yeah, headquarters. Yeah.
Cowboy headquarters on the 11th floor. Playboy Club was on the 2nd.
Wow, see, Ed, no.
Now that I remember.
But yeah, man, that was something there. But listen, we're going to take, we're about halfway through. We're going to take a quick break and show a little commercial on my boxing gym, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some more with Ed Too Tall Jones.
This is Jesse A. Montoya, raised on the streets of West Dallas. Started boxing in the late 1950s, making a promise to his mother that he would move her out of the poverty-stricken area. As a kid, Jesse would be one of the first in the state of Texas to compete against other African-American kids during the lift of segregation and the beginning of the civil rights movement.
Could switching to Geico really save you
60 years have passed and Jesse continues to be a part of the sport. His passion for boxing has allowed him to serve as a trainer, a coach, a mentor, and a community leader, working with both amateur and professional fighters. Jesse has literally mentored generations of young fighters since the 1970s. He is recognized as one of the first Hispanic coaches in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, while pioneering the first inner-city amateur boxing program that has awarded him and the boxing gym that carries his namesake with numerous team trophies. Throughout the years, Jesse and his staff, that includes his sons Anthony and Michael, have trained many successful boxers, a program acknowledged by USA Boxing. This is Jesse A. Montoya of Montoya Boxing, a pillar of amateur boxing in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Is Ed Too Tall Jones too tall?
I'm just gonna guesstimate.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Ed, what was the deal with the socks on that, man?
I forgot to take my socks off, and the producer missed it.
Oh, how long ago was that commercial?
A few years ago, 4 years ago, I believe.
They just called you out of the blue and said, Ed, we want you to do a
They
commercial.
called. In fact, the producer is a big Cowboy fan from Washington, D.C., of all places.
Wow. And well, I think we'll talk a little bit about that real quick. You've been in some shows, commercials, or I think you were on. Weren't you on Different Strokes?
Yeah, Different Strokes, Married with Children, and several movies. And I had fun doing it. Worked with some fun people, and tell you what, you're talking about patience. A lot of hurry up and wait. You got to have a lot of patience. I enjoy doing it, but how they do that for a living every day, I don't know. A lot of just standing around.
Yeah.
And camera breaks and equipment breakdowns and all that. But you know, it's something you got to love, and I enjoy doing it. But it's never one of my first loves.
Yeah, like boxing. Boxing,
my first love.
Yeah, there you go. So okay. Let's go back to you're with the Cowboys. You're you just get here. It's a big city, the nightlife. What made you decide to start throwing an Ed Jones party every year? Was it a summer party, or was it Labor Day weekend, or what was it exactly?
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
During the off-season Memorial Day, I'd been in the league for a while, and right before I was captain. Mm-hmm. And what had happened was one of the things that guys before me, the leaders on the team, believed in was team bonding, doing things together. We would drop a game at some point during the season that we shouldn't have lost, and one of the players would say, "Hey guys, we need to throw a dinner party, and where you could invite your girlfriends, wives, coaches, everybody, just to bond, sit around and talk," and it made a difference. And so what I thought about doing, I was always in town anyway, and the majority of the Cowboys always stayed in Dallas. We worked out together and all that, and we'd work out and do all these things. It's almost like practicing every day, and except for the dinner parties and that type of thing. So Memorial Day, everybody's always going, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do?" And so I decided to throw a Memorial Day party, and where players could invite their families and friends.
Right.
And like I said, I've been in music all my life, and I'd have a band come down from Nashville, Tennessee, a recording artist, and perform every year. He would play at my property. I said, we got to do something fun. So we'd have a water volleyball party. We'd have a volleyball party out on the lawn. We'd have a softball game.
Yes.
And we'd have one of my favorite barbecue places, Smoky John's, cater it for us. And guys loved it so much. Even during the season, they would say, "Are you going to do that again this year?" So I had to. So I did it for 14 years.
Yes. And I'll never forget the first party I went to, Ed. They were like, now, Paco, you might have to work a little bit at this party. And I'm like, "What do you mean I got to work?" And they said, "Well, there's a certain time where Ed says, okay, all the family members and the kids, they can only be here till like a certain time, like 7 o'clock. After 7 o'clock, they got to go. Because after 7 o'clock, it's a different party." Is that a fair statement?
Well, the reason why I would say that, my party ended at 10. The reason why I would say that is because it seemed like after the softball game, after everybody ate, then the adults wanted to drink.
Yes.
I've never been fond of drinking in front of kids. Never, even to this day. My nieces, nephews, if I'm anywhere in a public place and kids are there, I don't drink, because the last thing I want is some kid to think in order to be 6'9" and play for the Dallas Cowboys, you got to have a beer.
Right.
Or whatever your drink, whatever your drink of choice.
Right.
So that was why after my party started at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had kids' activities too. So I just felt by 7 o'clock, it's time for the kids to be at home.
Right.
And you only had 3 hours where adults could socialize and have some drinks, et cetera.
And when you say et cetera, that's a big et cetera.
Well, good music. And
we don't have to talk about the rest of that, Ed. But you had some. Oh man, them parties were something else. They were something else. And then let's talk about. So you played basketball, and you obviously you played with the Hoopsters.
Yes.
And
yeah. That was always fun. That was one of the ways of giving back to the community. because all of those games with the Houston were charity games.
Yes.
Benefiting mostly kids.
Yes.
And I'll never forget something that Landry said that I applied to even today. We were getting ready to go down and to the McAllen area to play a charity game against some police officers and fire department. And so we met at the practice facility. So when we got there guys picking up some sweats, something comfortable and everything to ride down. And Coach Landry was there working out.
Right.
He looked at me and he said, "What are you guys getting ready to do?" I said, "We're getting ready to go down and play a charity basketball game in McAllen." He said, "Make sure you win." I said, "Oh, Coach, we just playing a pickup game against some police officers and fire department."
Right.
He said, "Remember one thing, any game that's worth playing, it's worth winning." So I try and apply that to everything I do,
Right.
whether it's in sports, business, whatever it is. If you're going to do it, give it 110%, otherwise don't do it.
Right.
I never forgot that.
Play to win.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say that you had Coach Landry's door was always open to you?
Oh, yeah. He let you know that from day one. Coach Landry was like a father figure. He lectured every player in training camp one-on-one when you first drafted. And the thing that he told me was, he said, "Ed," he said, "first of all, congratulations on a great college career." He said, "I know what you're capable of doing." He said, "I don't compare players with anybody else." He said, "All I want you to do is just play up to your potential." He said, "And if you study, work hard, stay out of trouble, get involved in the community, you can have a long career here."
I think.
And most players listen.
Yeah.
And he let you know from day one that he loved you not just as a football player, but as a person.
Well,
And that door was always open.
I think a lot of people had the impression that he was such a mechanical or not a very personal person, and he was. And from listening to you, he was personable. And
Well, he's not about to sit in front of a mic in front of a lot of media and show that personal side. But anytime you want to talk to him, all you have to do is call his assistant, and she would get right back with you at what time to be there. Wow. And he was there for you.
And did you or were you ever called out on the carpet to see Larry Wansley?
No.
No? So
No,
see,
never.
That right there tells you that you never got in any trouble.
No,
Because
I can honestly say I was never fined in 15 years. Now, I was late once. Should have been fined, but I wasn't, and because when we were training at Valley Ranch, there was one police officer that loved his job. He was doing his job. And I always stopped at a little service station and got a tall cup of coffee to take to the meeting room because Coach Stoutner, my defensive line coach, loved to keep that room really cold.
Yeah.
So in order to get through those first 30 minutes, I had to have coffee. So this particular morning, I was running just a little late. So I was speeding to get to this coffee shop.
Right.
And this officer stopped me. Now, he knew what time my meeting was. And he took my license and sat in that car until 10 o'clock, which is the time I was supposed to be at my meeting. Then he brought me my license and gave me a warning. And when I walked in the meeting room, the first thing my coach said was, "That officer stopped you, didn't he?" And I said, "Yes." So he didn't turn me in the lantern.
Oh, wow.
That's the closest call I had.
Wow. And we never did even talk about training camp. Anything memorial or anything that stands out, one story about training camp, whether it was on the field or off the field or a play or a coach got upset or anything like that?
Well, every coach was upset all training camp. I mean, think about it. I don't care how long you've been in the league or if you're a rookie. You've been off for 6 months. So now they're trying to whip you back into shape. Football is a hard sport. You know, when the public watch us, they see a number and a name.
Right.
And you're in a uniform. They don't see broken ribs. Mine were broken 18 times. They don't see broken ribs. They don't see jammed necks. They don't see hyperextended knees. They don't see all those things. It is difficult to ask a player to go out there and perform at a high level because of all the injuries.
Right.
So you have to do these little things to motivate them. Right. You know, that's why I think a good coach has to be a disciplinarian. If the head coach is not one of those tough in your face type guys, you got to have one as an assistant that way, because different strokes for different folks. I was the type that all you had to do was call me off to the side and tell me what you didn't like that I was doing and what was expected of me.
Right.
You didn't have to yell at me. But you got some players, because of their upbringing from day one, from the minute they went Pee Wee League, they had coaches that yelled at them. And they respond with that. Right. So you still have to do that even though they're an adult. But a good coach know who you can do, and leaders on the team know who to call out in front of everybody or who to call out one-on-one. They know. And so we worked very hard. You know, we had to, because Coach Lanier demanded it. And back then, if you didn't, he'd always call you in and say, look, you know, you're not playing up to your potential. You're not working hard enough. If you don't, I'm going to send you to Buffalo. You didn't want to go to the Buffalo Bills during that time. They weren't winning then, and it was very cold there.
Yes. And it while you're there, you're in the league 15 years. I've had more than one player come up to me and that played with you, whether it was a year or 5 years, however many years they played, and they said, you know, when I first met Ed, they're telling me the story. They said, when I first met Ed, I thought he didn't like me because he didn't talk to me until like my second year on the team, when he finally said something to me.
Well, I can tell you why.
What?
My rookie year, I had a roommate who, till this day, I think he should have made the team. The 2 days before the last cut, I'm listening to him talking to his wife back in Dallas on the phone, saying, honey, do you remember that Mark IV we looked at and that color you liked? I want you to call them and tell them, don't sell that car. I have made this team.
Right.
The next morning, you know, to make sure you're on time for everything in training camp, they have trainers that come knock on your door letting you know breakfast is in 45 minutes, breakfast in an hour. This particular morning, I heard this knock. It was a different knock. And the trainer called his name. I won't call his name. And then he paused and said, Coach Landry want to see you. And another pause. And oh, by the way, bring your playbook.
Oh, man.
Now, what came out of his mouth is words that I cannot use on your radio show. And I can't use those words even off the air. That's not me. So I learned early on, don't be friend with players who haven't made the team.
Yeah. Wow.
I learned the hard way. And I played possum. Like I was sleeping through all of it and waited until he got up and left. And when I heard the door close, it's when I jumped up and took a quick shower and got out of there because I didn't want to be there when he got back.
Oh man. So you weren't very talkative in the huddle either.
No. I was a listener because we had I played with some very good leaders, smart guys. You know, like the defensive quarterbacks was your linebackers.
Yeah.
Not just the middle linebacker. You know, the guy next to you. When I started out with Dave Edwards, you know, Leroy Jordan in the middle, one of the best leaders I ever played with.
Yeah.
And we'd have you know, Dallas was the first team to use computer books.
Yeah.
You know, because you get the previous 3 games of each team to study. And Coach Landry wanted to fool everybody. So you have to learn all these different things, and we're doing the same thing, but from different formations. So we would go over this all week. So I didn't talk a lot because why should I be jawing with my opponents when I need to be listening to what Leroy or Bob Bruning or Dave Edwards or Hollywood Henderson's telling me that we got going on? All stunts in the line. We were stunting with John Dudden, Harvey Martin, Randy White, and Bob and Jethro Pugh, all those guys, with Larry Cole before they gave it up.
Yeah.
So I felt like, that cheapest talk anyway.
Yeah.
I wanted to deliver. That's all I was thinking about, ways to set you up for something that I might need later when the game's on the line.
Right.
I was always trying to set players up.
Right.
And also, why should I wake up a sleeping dog?
Right.
Some guys try and jaw with you in order for you to jaw back and make them play better. But that's just wasn't my style.
Or plus get under your skin.
Plus, I played next to John Dutton. I heard enough jawing.
Yeah, I heard about that. They told me about John Dutton. We're going to go to commercial real quick with our guy, one of our sponsors, and then we'll come right back and we'll talk some more with Too Tall Jones. Too Tall, this is the market I was telling you about. It's down in Deep Ellum. They've been there since 1895. Look at that spot. Look at them pictures. And it's a friend of mine that owns this, and it's a real chop shop. I mean, you walk in, you can walk into the refrigerator, and they got sides of beef. They got smoked hams, pork, veal, chicken. I mean, they got everything there. They got the old chopping blocks. I mean, a really nice place over in Deep Ellum. It's on Elm Street. If you ever go in there, Ed, just tell him that you're coming from Paco's locker room, and he's going to take care of you. He's one of our sponsors. He's a big Cowboy fan. I mean, they do turkeys, hams. I mean, they do everything. But, man, if you like meat, and which I think you do, you like to cook out at your place, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Go in there and see him one day. He'll take care of you. Get you some meat and let me know how it turned out.
Look forward to checking that out.
Yeah, definitely. And he'll know who you are. Believe me, he's a big Cowboy fan.
Awesome.
But let's go back, Ed. Who was the loudest in the huddle? As far as, I don't know, not necessarily the leader, but who was the guy that just always talking, just whether good or bad?
Well, John doesn't talk a lot, but it was always either at his opponent or refs. And I remember when Randy White used to tease John all the time, said, "John, I know you're not going to get any calls from the officials, but he won't make no calls for us if you keep talking." but John was one of the most fun teammates I ever had. Hard worker, good football player. And like I said, we love doing stunts. And John was always on the same page with you. A lot of guys don't like to do stunts.
Right.
But I never asked John if he really enjoyed doing those things, or was he just concentrating totally on setting his guy up to do his one-on-one.
Right.
But he never said no once when it was something I thought would work or whatever. So that's the kind of teammate you want to have. But John was never short for words.
Yeah, I heard. I think it was Everson was telling me that John Dutton could cuss like a sailor. He said, "Boy, John was just something else, man." But and so while you were playing, is there a player that hurt you the most? Meaning, whether he was being cut or whether he passed or something like that. Somebody that you were, like you said, you were close to.
I was close to all my teammates still. We're still close. When you play for Dallas, during my era, I don't know about the era today, but you have lifelong friends.
Right.
Like I keep in touch with all the guys. They keep in touch with me, and this is all the time. Not just when something tragic happened.
Right.
But we keep in touch and we do things together. For example, just recently we all went to Vegas for that big Wilder fight. And a lot of them aren't fight fans, but they know I am.
Yeah.
Good time. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we still go to each other's homes. You know, a lot of the guys, I don't play poker, but a lot of the guys have a poker game at different homes once a week.
Wow.
That kind of, so whenever I want to just catch up with the guys I haven't seen in a while, all I got to do is make a phone call, find out where's the poker game this week.
So you go watch and play
I just
poker.
go watch and play poker.
Yeah. I know Donnelly and TD and some of the guys used to always play.
Yes.
Used to play poker every
Still
week.
do.
Yeah, yeah. Because our friend Bill Eckroth says that he would go to those poker games also. Yeah. And so, we got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to ask you about the current team. Only because we don't talk much about the current team, but what do you think is holding them back? Because realistically, they're probably one of or the best team on paper. But obviously, when you're trying to make it all gel together, it's not happening.
Yeah. And, well, let me just base it on my experience at all levels and all sports. Number one, and it's the same thing with business. Unless you have good leadership, from top to bottom, you will never accomplish what you set out to do if you don't have it.
Yeah.
You look at any team in any sport, or you look at any business that's successful, I guarantee you there's a good leader there. And every team got leaders, but does the majority of the players follow them?
Right. Right.
See, you can be a leader, but that doesn't mean people are going to follow you.
Right.
And the teams that I was on that accomplished things had great leadership. Number two, work ethics. And when I say work ethics, not just work, are you having fun?
Yeah.
In your business, do you look forward to waking up every morning and going to your job? Are you excited about going to your job? Do you wake up in the middle of the night and you have to get up at 5 and it's 3 o'clock and you go, oh my gosh, I got 2 more hours before I have to get up, because you're excited to get up and go do what you got to do.
Right.
You have to be excited about what you do and have fun doing it. Now, when I look at the team, this is just my opinion, it doesn't look like to me they're having fun. I don't see a lot of celebrating and picking each other up on the sideline when they come off the field. I see a lot of people come off the field, they set their helmets down, they look, a stalk look on their face. I don't see them having fun.
Right.
Number 3, does it hurt you to lose? And I say that because I remember Coach Landry used to tell us, guys, win your home games. Don't let nobody come in your backyard and beat you. Establish that where they know. And I'm going to tell you something funny. Harry Carson, Hall of Famer for the New York Giants,
Yes.
told me, we were doing a promotion together. He said, Ed, you guys are the toughest team I've ever played against on the road. He said, every year when the schedule would come out, he said, the first thing I do is look and see, when do I have to go to Dallas? That's what you have to establish. Don't let nobody come in your backyard and beat you, and then steal a couple on the road, and you're in the playoffs. Once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. Dallas lose too many games at home.
Yeah.
And I don't see enough fight. And then after the game, here's what hurt me. It's when I see guys standing around looking for people to talk to, and you just got your butt kicked.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I don't care if I played with you in college all 4 years. You playing with an opponent and come in here and kick my butt, if you say anything to me, you're going to catch me running to the locker room.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like it hurt to lose. I'm not talking about everybody, but all I take it in a team sport, it's not like tennis and golf, all I take is a few.
Right.
Those are the things that I know that you have to have to win. That's the recipe for winning. Sure, I don't care how good you look on paper. I don't care how good your coaching staff is. You're not going to win without those things.
Yeah.
And I'm one who don't ever blame coaches. I blame myself. I blame the people around me who are in uniform. I don't ever blame coaches.
There it is. You heard it straight from Ed Too Tall Jones. I mean, what better person could tell you? What better person could tell you? Guys, it looks like we're all out of time. That puts us right at 8 o'clock. We appreciate you watching. Ed, honestly, from the, I don't know how I should say this, Paco to Too Tall, bro, I really appreciate you coming out. You've been to my gym. You talked to our fighters, and now for you to come out on my show, it really means a lot. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, I'm there for you, bro. The same way you take care of me is the same way I take care of you. If you ever need anything, please call me. I will help you out.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Guys, see you next week.